I want to welcome everyone to today's Learn at Lunch webinar. We will hear from OSU Extension Farm Policy Specialist Amy Hagerman and Catherine Clower and Chad Greenlee, both with My Ag Data. They will discuss electronically submitting crop reports to the USDA. If you have questions, you may ask them through the chat window by clicking the chat button at the bottom of the screen. More information on this and other farm management topics may be found on the eFarm Management page. I will share this link in the chat window. Our next webinar will be on November 4th and provide a farm income tax law update. Amy, Catherine, and Chad, I will turn it over to you now.
All right, thank you, Brent. So I'm going to kind of kick it off just a moment because I'm eager to introduce you to my new colleagues and let them talk about some of the exciting stuff that they have going on. But I did just want to take a moment to set the stage. So for those of you who are already working with Farm Service Agency, you're already applying for programs, you're familiar with this requirement to submit your annual acreage report for your warm season and cool season crops and forages. Then also, just to emphasize that this movement, this electronic acreage reporting, this is voluntary. You could still have the option to do your regular reporting in person in your office, but this is, I think, potentially a really exciting way to maybe avoid some of those late penalties when you just can't get into the office. It's a way to navigate some of the greater limitations that we might see in terms of staffing in FSA offices. And so I think it's certainly worth exploring whether you might want to start integrating this into your regular practices. For those of you who aren't as familiar with this process, I'm going to drop a fact sheet in the chat, which is getting started with Farm Service Agency. And so for those that are just getting started, they need to go in and get their farm number from FSA. This is different from a tax ID. And so they need specifically, and there's certain forms they need to bring in for that, which are included here. But one of the maintenance items is to submit your annual acreage report. And so that's just a good maintenance. You know, if you go in to apply for a disaster program and you haven't submitted your annual acreage report, you potentially have to pay a penalty in order to get that submitted. And it just drags out the process of applying for Farm Service Agency programs if you don't have one of those in place. So that's just a good, warm season, cool season deadline to get your acreage report in. And I think this is potentially an exciting way to streamline that process and just to kind of take advantage of the full use of your data that you have available to you. And so I'm really excited. We would have liked to have had some of our Farm Service Agency colleagues with us, of course, today, but that wasn't possible. But Chad and Catherine bring a lot of knowledge of working closely with County Farm Service Agency offices to this process. They've worked with a lot of individual directors across the country to be able to build this tool and to bring it to all of you. So I will now turn it over to our guests to really show you the demo.
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, everybody. It's so nice to meet you guys. My name is Catherine Clower, Director of Sales and Marketing here at My Ag Data. I've been with the company for over 6 years now. I grew up on our family farm with a strong ag background, and currently I work closely with our growers, listening to their feedback and understanding their needs on how electronic acreage reporting is supporting them. I'll pass it over to Chad.
Yeah, thanks for letting us be here today. My name's Chad Greenlee. My wife and I graduated from Oklahoma State. I was Ag Econ graduate 2002. Stephanie is the Director of Communications over at the FABC, over the Food and Ag Product Center. We have a senior at Oklahoma State, majoring in agribusiness with a minor in law and legal studies. And we got two more cowboys in the pipeline that are coming up. 17-year-old is a junior, and 11-year-old is fifth grader. We live in Perkins. We actually had some of our family that submitted reports through us. We'd be glad to talk about that experience anytime. Later today, I'll be in Ag Hall. If there's anyone in this meeting that might be in that area, I'll be in the lobby around 4 o'clock. But I want to jump into the presentation. I'll turn it back over to Kat, and we'll get started.
And folks, please feel free to unmute yourself and put questions in the chat as well as we're going through this. And we look forward to our conversation today. So we'll go ahead and get started here, learning about electronic acreage reporting, as well as we have time set to provide a demo of the process. So go ahead and let me move my next screen here. Okay. So for growers that are wanting to participate in federal farm programs, as Amy mentioned, they have to certify those acres to comply with USDA regulatory compliance. So currently there are 98% of acres that participate in these farm programs. So what does that mean? So what does this mean? So the USDA predicts that in the next 5 years, that 95% of acreage reports will be filed electronically. And so MyAg Data was founded out of the Farm Bill, out of the 2014 Farm Bill. So we work closely with the USDA. We meet monthly with national leadership. We also have conversations, as Amy mentioned, we work closely with state and county offices as well. So we have a great relationship there. And just a fun fact, we are the only company with the credentials into the USDA clearinghouse to provide electronic reporting for the accuracy program. And so I'll go ahead and I will pass it over to Chad here.
Yeah, I want to provide just a little bit more history, give this a little bit more context to what we're doing. As Kat mentioned, when this originated, actually back in 2011, there was a USDA initiative that was originated called Accuracy, stands for Acreage Crop Report Streamlining Initiative. That fell under the authority of the 2010 Farm Bill, Food and Conservation and Energy Act 2008. The whole purpose of this initiative was to ease the burden of reporting on our farmers and to create a single submission that goes both into the RMA, the Risk Management Agency, and the Farm Service Agency, the FSA. In 2012, MyAg Data began working with the USDA on the initiative, which would later be supported by the 2014 Farm Bill, as Catherine mentioned. Over a span of a decade, MyAg Data has been working with the USDA, specifically the FSA and the RMA, to create an electronic version to file the electronic reports. Fast forward to 2023, June of that year, we were permissioned to transact data with the USDA RMA clearinghouse. And as Kat mentioned, we are the only third-party company that's allowed to do this. We had a national launch in January of 2024. We currently house a little over 1 million acres in the system that we're working with. Not only do we help with acreage reporting, but we have a lot of users that use the data that's collected from MyAg Data for regulatory and compliance report needs as well. Back to this whole initiative, a single digital report. The digital footprint, it takes one report that we submit electronic file that goes to the RMA clearinghouse. For the ease of the burden of having the farmer to go to the Farm Service Agency, they might be farming in multiple counties, which increases kind of the complexity of that in time. Through this, they can send one single submission that goes both to the FSA side and to the RMA side, so the crop insurance agent has access to the record at the same time. And so from that, I'm going to go ahead and Kat, could you go ahead and flip over to the next slide? Many of you may be familiar with this map that's on the left-hand side of the screen. Good and bad feelings come out of this map, but it's the way that the reporting has been done historically. The Farm Service Agency will print off, there's different ways that they deliver this, but it's typically a grayscale map based off of 2008 NAPE imagery. Farmer can go to the FSA to pick it up. They can mail it, they can email it. Regardless of the way they get it, the primary use of it is to shade in the fields that you're planted, and then on that piece of paper, you handwrite all the information needed for the 578 acreage report. This effort that we are helping with, that we've launched and created this solution for, not only makes it easier for the growers, but also the program analysts at the FSA office. So everyone involved in the process can capitalize by and benefit from electronic reporting. On the right-hand side is a digital map that we create. If you'll notice, and you have to look a little bit close, but there's a blue line that outlines these field boundaries. That is called a common land unit. These are field boundaries that were digitized or hand outlined in a process 20 plus years ago. Not very accurate to the way many are farming today. The yellow field is the USDA crop code for corn. That's actually as applied planting data. The green is the USDA crop code for soybean. And you'll notice a little area in between there that's shaded pink. That area is called the idle acres. So under policy, the FSA has to report 100% of the common land unit, but through the initiative of accuracy, farmers are able to use their as planted data so they can utilize that data if they have it. Do not have to have planting data, but if you do have it, you are able to use that. And so again, the effort is to help both increase the efficiency for the grower and the Farm Service Agency. Anthony, can we take it to the next slide? What we did to make this easy, and part of the ease of burden of reporting, is we wanted to create a solution that was very intuitive. And so we based it off of TurboTax. And some of you may have worked with that in the past, but it's very wizardly like. As you walk through each process, it tells you what to do. And so we've created that, replicated that kind of process within our system. The four benefits that the growers really receive out of this is saving time, saving money, reducing the risk of audit. Because if you have the electronic reports, your filing's better and it kind of helps keep you out of the spotlight. Most importantly, we think though, is it increases the APH, or the actual production history of your field. So as you report more accurately, if you do use planting data, you're actually increasing the yield per acre by reporting on a more accurate boundary off your planting data. But again, to the point, if farmers don't have that technology or they choose to use a common land unit, they can still do that through our system as well. I'm going to pass it back over to Kat and we go over a little bit of feedback that we have from some of our growers.
Yeah, so you're probably curious, we talk about how many acres are in our system as growers. This is a nationwide program for growers to use. And with that, we have growers located all across the United States. And here's some testimonies. And just to highlight quickly here, there are growers that are saving time and saving money. There's differences from their actual planted versus their CLUs. Taking less time and being efficient with their time at the FSA office can also lead to you guys having more opportunities to participate in other programs and learn about other items that are available with the USDA and FSA. And just to highlight, growers are with my ag data and electronic acreage reporting, growers are able to report how they farm. And so that's a big win for growers. It's been many years that they've had access to ag technology, but growers have the ability to use that now to their full advantage. And then just to highlight as well, as Amy and Chad and I have mentioned, we work closely with the USDA. And, with not being able to have some folks here as well, but that's okay. Just some comments to highlight from the FSA and working with FSA is that they're getting clean, accurate data from growers now. We have a technician located in Maryland that she provided that she had everything that she needed for her files and to certify her growers. She was really impressed, and it's easy to access and adopt as well. And then just to highlight, we're taking time, giving time back to both growers and FSA folks as well. They have more time to work on other items, especially on that crazy deadline, that last week of deadline, where there's a lot of growers coming into the office as well. With that being said, we'll go ahead and we'll go into our product presentation. So what you guys are going to be able to see today is our crop setup as well as our availability. You know, Chad mentioned whether a grower has precision data or does not. There's availability to bring in that data, and then completing that acreage report. So I will give me 1 second here. I'm going to bring in my screen and let me know when you guys can see it here. Transfer it over. Okay, you guys see it?
Can.
Perfect. And also, please, again, feel free to stop and ask any questions as we're going through this presentation. Don't be hesitant or shy today with us. So for growers in the My Ag Data system, once you're registered and in the system, it gives you your introduced to our welcome page, where it provides options to get into whichever season, whether that's winter or spring, for reporting. So for today's purpose, we're in a winter report. And so once we're in the system and starting our report, so growers brought to our My Crops page. Here we have the 9 most common crops pre-toggled for growers. That just simplifies that process, makes one less step for them. So for example, maybe I don't plant sunflowers on my operation. I can go ahead and remove that record and say there's a crop on here that I do plant on my operation, but it's not listed. I can come down here to our drop down. So for today's purpose, I know it's lunch, but I'm going to go ahead and select here some cherries.
Do you have
And
forages on here? Do you have forages on here? We have a lot of cattle producers in the state. Do you have forages?
yes, ma'am. So hay, yep, forages as well. So next in adding that crop, and great question, Amy, is we'll go ahead and do the type, intended use, and then our practice as well, and unspecified. We'll go ahead and add that in there. And as we can see at the top here, cherries crop is added into our operation. So next we'll continue. And here, this just verifies that these are the crops that we have selected for the operation. So we'll go ahead and continue with these crops. Next in the process for this report is our practices. So it's just a couple questions. Here, our first question is tillage practice. This isn't a requirement for the 578, but we include it. That way growers can go back to historical data as well. So we'll go ahead and continue. If there's irrigation or non-irrigation, and our most used is pre-toggled, just to make this an easier process. And then if there's any kind of planting practice, whether that's prevent, plant, volunteer, failed as well. And organic is the last question. So we'll go ahead and continue.
Kat, I just have another question as you're going down through there. So because those options are really critical for your crop insurance, of course, if they don't choose it there, they can still specify those things with their crop insurance agent. And so it's just not going to go on their report for this.
Yes, so we can, and at this step, so as growers are bringing in, selecting their crops and their practices, they might have a majority is irrigated on their operation, but there might be a couple of fields that are not irrigated. And so we can edit these fields at the field level within our system. So it's very customizable for a grower and how they operate and how they run their operation. Okay, so next we're getting into creating that fields. And here is where Chad mentioned, whether you have data or you don't have data. So we have a couple different options for growers to bring in data. So majority uses their precision ag, and we have 2 options, but for today's purposes, I went ahead and uploaded a USB from the monitor into the system. Growers can also bring in boundaries from farmers.gov. So if they choose to use those boundaries provided from the USDA, they can bring in those as well. If a grower has used any equipment or FMIS software, we can bring in boundaries from there as well. Or if a grower chooses just to manually select a field from the map, they can do that as well. But I'll go ahead in here for that precision data. As I mentioned, I brought in a flash drive file, but for our cloud storage platforms, we have connections with major partners. So John Deere, TopCon, FieldView, Case IH. And so a grower can come in, select their cloud platform, go through a couple of questions, and it brings them into their login page for their cloud partner. And once that connection is made, that data is pre-populated into the report for them. So we'll go ahead and continue here to review the fields. So here we can see our fields on our map. We can zoom in on those. We use the same MAPE imagery at the FSA office as well. Growers can toggle that down if they choose to choose a different map view or satellite view. But over here on the left-hand side here, we have a overview of our acres in the county that we're in. And so we can select that. Say that the east of Shed is an irrigated field. I can go ahead and pre-toggle this to irrigated. We also have the option if you need to edit any crop types as well, or any of the practices. For growers, we do have an option for shareholders. So whether you're in a shareholder with your aunt, uncle, brother, sibling, ma or pa, we can edit those and add in the shareholders per field as well too. So I'll go ahead and save this. And then we'll back out here. And so we can check our fields. And here our field review is complete. So last step for growers is to file that report. So grower is brought to our USDA data disclaimer. So what this means is that the data that they're sending to the clearinghouse is going to be used for FSA and crop insurance. So it's one report for both. And then as well as producer information is correct and accurate. So once those are accepted, we can continue here. So next is our planting summary. So here it just breaks down. And so if growers are in multiple counties, they'll break it down by the counties. You can see by crops as well. We have an option at the top to filter. So if a grower needs to filter by a particular crop or shareholder, they can. And then next is our last step is our payment page. And so there a grower can make their payment and then download a review report. So I just want to highlight quickly here our review report. So when a grower is finished, they have the option for a review report, and then they can submit that report as well. So that report's submitted to the clearinghouse, and then they go into the FSA office, and all of this data is there for their FSA to go ahead and confirm and certify. So here, just quickly, excuse me, it's just an overview of the crops, and then it breaks it down by per field as well too. Okay, so I'll go ahead and pull this out, and we'll go ahead and we'll take some questions. Feel free to put your questions in the chat or come off mute. Happy to answer those.
So Kat, while folks are putting their questions in the chat, just thinking about some of the feedback you've received from various producers that you guys have worked with over time. You know, did they seem like it was a pretty easy learning curve to figure out how to use this and then to work with their farm service agency office?
So I have to say, you know, a first year for anything is a learning curve for both growers and FSA technicians. As well for growers, once they're in the system and understand, it's super simple. We have a lot of growers that prefer electronic acreage reporting, but as well as just to note, you know, when you're talking with your FSA technicians, if they really don't know, you know, what this is or what they can do, you can reference the CP-782 notice. So that was a notice that was sent out. There's been multiple notices sent out by national there in DC, sent out to counties and state. And so the CP-782 highlights all the things that is needed for an FSA technician to understand the program. There's training material as well as some key contacts to reach out if they have any questions as well too.
Other questions for Chad or Kat?
I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll questions now as well.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Brent.
So yeah, folks, we just have a couple of questions here. And I know that, you know, we just had our rural economic outlook that Brent helped put together. We talked a lot about AI. How do we better leverage our data? And so I would really encourage you to jump in here and add to these questions, help these folks better understand what the needs are and what some of the challenges are. So take a moment to jump in there and answer some of the questions.
You might have already addressed this, but if your farm is already all set up and it's in the system,
Mhm.
is that already all in there? Or if you switch over to this, do you have to start from scratch and recreate it?
Just to clarify, like for winter reporting and spring reporting, or
Well, like most of my producers are all
Mhm.
forage, and so
Mhm.
there's usually not any change. And so they just go in and sign their paperwork and they're good to go again. And
Yeah.
so is that already uploaded into this electronic where they can just go in and sign off on it here, or are they going to have to recreate that farm?
So great question, Coy. So as Amy mentioned here, that first year is a kind of a learning curve. So first time in our system, once you're in boundaries, fields, that re-rolls over each year. So if a grower chooses, yep, these are my forage fields that I keep the same boundary, same information, just change some dates, they can re-roll over those boundaries as well, as they bring into the system. So we keep it efficient as well. That way that when you're transferring from a spring report or a winter report, you can also transfer those boundaries or choose to use information as needed.
Yeah, and I come from that forage background too. So all of our dealings with FSA was more on forages. Those are some old maps. I won't lie.
I think too, just to highlight as you guys are working through those questions there, we have a grower located in North Dakota, so totally north of Oklahoma, but he really strives to use his precision data because, again, as you just mentioned, Amy, the boundaries that the FSA have aren't current to how he farms and how he operates his operation, and so when a grower certifies, they were able to go into the office and that information's there and accurate how they farm.
Other questions? We still have some answers rolling in. Thank you, everyone, for jumping in there and answering the poll questions. They're totally anonymous. Your name doesn't show up with it. It just compiles into a single answer for us.
And we do appreciate everybody being on here. And like Catherine said, and Amy, I mean, we are here to answer any questions that you might have here in a minute. We'll show you we'll provide you our emails, that way you can contact us, and we'll be more than happy to visit with you about any questions you might have and learn more about electronic acres reporting.
Did you guys have any just final comments? I was kind of browsing down through the list. We have a lot of extension educators on the call today. So any last comments or anything that you guys want to make while people are wrapping up with the poll?
Sure, I'll just say that, this is the only thing that we focus on is to help growers ease the burden of this process. Likewise, we work with crop insurance agents as well who are working with the growers and their clients there. Many growers do not know that this is available to them. And I think just by letting them know that they do have options, they have options more than ever before to report how they want, completely upon their own determination of what they want to do, gives them the freedom and the flexibility to do this, and it's really under their control. They can do and report how they farm and when they want to, and in the convenience of their schedule. The support we have, we do our very best. We're very passionate about this, and we focus on the farmer 100% of the day, every day. And how can we help everyone that's in that process? We're here to help.
Well, if there are no other questions today, we just want to thank you for being here. We appreciate your time and your patience. I want to show my appreciation to Chad and to Kat for being here with us today and sharing this really valuable information. They're going to share their contact information, as they said, and then we'll wrap up this session. So Kat, can you flip over to your contact information? There you go.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. Yeah, we really appreciate having this time to spend with you and welcome the questions and thank you for your participation. Our emails are listed in the lower left-hand side of the slide. We would really appreciate any outreach. If you have additional questions we can help with, we're here to do that. Thank you all for attending.
All right, thanks, Brent. We turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you all for presenting. We appreciate you presenting here today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this presentation today. Our next webinar will be November 4th at noon, and we will get a farm income tax law update. So we hope to see you then. I'm going to wrap the meeting up now. Goodbye, everyone, and see you on the 4th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.